Welcome to the Rustic Garden Homestead. In today's quick video, I want to show you how to fertilize your blueberry bushes in the spring. I'm going to go over really just the basic fertilizing. Also going to talk about pruning blackberry plants, feeding your blackberry plants, and then the same thing for raspberries. Raspberries and blackberries are pretty similar. I want to start with the blackberries and its basic cane pruning. This is my blueberry kind of row right here. I don't prune my blueberry bushes a whole lot. I'll open up some space in between them, but I want them to get large. I don't get any diseases. Things are managed pretty well, generally speaking, with the shape of my blueberry bushes. But I don't do heavy pruning. I'll cut out the dead wood and stuff like that. Most important thing for the blueberries is the fertilizing. So right in here I have blackberries that have kind of moved from my original blackberry patch, which was right in here. And I've already pruned them out. So that all that green growth is growth that started last year. So last year's canes came out of the ground, grew like that. In the second year, so the second full year, this year, they're going to fruit, and I'll have literally hundreds of blackberries on there. The wood that fruited last year all dies off, and you cut that back and you get rid of it. So it's, you know, first year canes grow. When they become second year canes, they produce fruit. So the canes right here, just to be clear, started last year, year one. Now they're on year two. They're going to produce blackberries. I also have blackberries that work their way over here. And just FYI, blackberry roots only go down about 12 inches deep. So feeding them is pretty easy. The root systems themselves will go out about 2 feet wide from where you plant, and they can slowly kind of work their way down. I think these really started because I get so many blackberries I can't eat them all, so a lot of them fell to the ground and they seeded. So in my 4x8, I have canes working their way over. They're all going to get dug out at some point. I'll probably let them fruit this year, and then the new canes that come up this year, the first year canes, I'll dig up and I'll move them to another location. I want to show you the basic pruning. You're just looking for green wood. So the green wood means this is really on its second year. The wood that's already produced is dead. So you just look come springtime. I leave it in here so it's really easy to identify. You're just looking for green stays, dead brown goes, and you're just going to follow it down. Get your pruners. Let me get this in shot, and then just cut it off at the base. You might see some green down at the bottom. They tend to die from the top down. That's not going to do anything. Just give it a cut like that. You can cut them closer. I tend to leave them like that. So I have 1, 2, 3 second year canes all starting to leaf out. That's, you know, we want to feed them and get these off to a great start. But in the meantime, I'm just going to go down and remove all the dead canes. Let me do that, and then we'll talk about feeding these real quick. Just a couple more quick tips before we get to feeding. If this is new to you, and maybe it's confusing, like this is nice and green, this is like green and brown, and you might be confused on the color because you just haven't done this before. You're looking for the canes that are green and have leaves growing, so there's no rush to remove the canes. You can wait until the ones that are in their second year or still alive basically are starting to leaf out, and then you know to go ahead and cut out the other ones. Sometimes it can be a little bit confusing. Raspberries sometimes look a little more similar. I find blackberries are pretty distinct. You also want to go through, and wherever you find like damaged branches or canes, just get in there. Whoop, missed it. Oh, nice clipper. Just get in there and cut off the dead parts. If you leave them, it's no big deal, but you just clean up the plants a little bit. The other thing that's important is these canes can get 10, 12 feet tall. So I have posts set up going all the way across, and you can see that there's some clothesline along there. That is all completely decayed from the UV rays of the sun, and when I touch it, it just crumbles into this powder. So I don't want to be breathing that in. I'm not going to use that anymore. Maybe just plain old cotton clothesline would be fine. That will decay, you replace it. But this was some sort of, you know, I don't know, polycord or something like that. Anyway, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to put a metal wire along here. So I'll just do it like every I don't know, 18 inches or 2 feet all the way up, and then I will weave these canes through there, and that's going to support them and keep them from falling over. Here's a good example real quick of some pruning that you'd want to do. Here's the top, it's died off. Just come in at an angle, stay at an angle, give it a cut, and it's good to go. And that's the basic pruning that I do. So right along the base of the blackberry canes, that's where we're going to put in the water-soluble fertilizer. I recommend AgroThrive. It's a wonderful organic fertilizer that doesn't smell like fish emulsion. When I use fish emulsion now, my dog eats the soil. And I have a lot of fish emulsion left that I'm trying to get through because I bought it on sale a couple of years back. But I prefer the AgroThrive. Does a great job growing the plants. You can find that in the video description. But also, animals leave it alone. Also going to put down some organic granular fertilizer. Any organic fertilizer works fine. Don't overspend. Cheaper the better. It's all the same ingredients. If you don't want to use the organic granular, you had a lot of compost, you'd put down about 2 inches of compost across here, and that will provide nutrients, of course, to the blackberries. I also put down lots of wood chips. These decay over time, they break down, so these are really getting fed. I like to feed the blackberries just once a year in the spring. Blueberries I do twice, fall and spring. Raspberries are done the same exact way that you're seeing now. So I'm going to show you the raspberry canes next, and then we'll get to the blueberry bushes. But I'm not going to show you how to feed the raspberries because it's just like this. Big handful of any organic granular, and you're just scattering it around the base. You can come out about a foot or so. Remember, the roots expand out a good 2 feet, a little bit windy, and just scatter it around. You don't have to overdo it. You could do, again, compost if you have it. Not everybody has it, so I like to show the organic granular. For the water soluble, this is a 2-gallon container. Give it a really good drink right at the base, and then kind of work your way out. I would do the same on the other side if it wasn't in my garden bed. And you're just, probably putting about a half a gallon right there. That's just going to add water soluble nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. That means the plant can use it right away, get off to a great spring start. And then the organic granular will slowly break down with microbes, feed the plants, and you'll have a great season with your blackberries. Just want to show you real quick in my other blackberry patch. These are blackberries that are starting to come up. These are going to be 2024's first year canes. They'll grow this year, and then next year they're going to provide the flowers and the fruit. And these are, again, the second year canes. And you can just see the process. This is what's going to happen this year. You'll get your new first year growth, which will provide in 2025, and then 2023's growth right here is going to provide for 2024. This is a raspberry bed. This is a 4x8. In a 4x8 space, I'd probably use a good 3 or 4 gallons of the water-soluble fertilizer and just water it in pretty evenly across there. Scatter in some of the organic granular, compost if you can get it in there. This is in another part of my garden. These have thorns. The blackberries inside my garden are thornless and clumping, so they stay a little more contained. They don't have thorns. That's why they're inside my main garden. When you're looking at the raspberry canes, instead of really being green, and the color is going to vary depending on, what varieties and stuff you're growing, you can see that they're more red. And there's some kind of, it looks like white dust on there. When you see the white dust, or just kind of like that little film, and they're red, that means that they're alive. Again, same thing. You can come over here and you can see that they're starting to leaf out, and pretty soon they're going to be flowering. You're looking for the dead canes. They're really brown. There's nothing growing. If you snap them, they're dry all the way through. If you're ever really in doubt, wait a little bit longer, again, because you're going to see the leaves coming through and you're going to be okay. So I would follow this mess down. You have to be a lot more careful with raspberries. So this one is dead. It's all brown all the way through here. This one is alive. It's got that kind of white frost on there, and they're red. And you just go through and you would prune out everything that's dead. Here's a good example of 2 that have died, and remove them. So I'll clean this bed up and, take care of feeding them the same exact way. Please subscribe. I'll show you production on the blackberries, the raspberries, the blueberries. I'll show you how to propagate them. These are ready to be dug up and they can be moved. And I'm also trying to reach 750,000 subscribers, so I could sure use the help with new subscribers. All right, let's go over to the blueberries. Blueberries like a little more acidity, so we're going to take care of them differently. I wanted to show you a couple things before we move to the next part of the video. This is the metal wire that I use. I'll be using to weave the blackberries in between. This space was for tomato plants. I took out some of the poles, that's why it's loose. But this is just metal wire that's used for electric fences. It's really inexpensive, and I'll just pull it tight, secure it, and then I will weave the blackberry brambles, canes through there. I recommend too, if you want to save some of these are perfect for trellising your peas up. March is a great time to take care of your blackberries, raspberries, and blueberries, but you can also use the old canes to support your pea plants, to trellis your pea plants as they're growing. And then in here I have cattle panel. I already moved some of the canes that were sticking out this way into the fence, and I will weave my way upward, like that will get weaved up. And they do need support because they get really tall. This one up here is almost up to 12 feet. So you want to be thinking about that. Also, after you put in the water soluble, unless it's going to really rain that day, after you put in the organic granular, even with the water soluble watering, really soak all this in with a good watering. That will get the water soluble down further into the earth. That will activate the dry organic granular, and the plants will love you for it down the line. All right, back to the video. This is the fruit room of my garden. This is inside a fence. There are 8 blueberry bushes along the left side, 8 along the right side. I do let them grow without a lot of pruning. Backstory is we had cicadas maybe 3 years back, and a lot of them got damaged, so I just let them grow, took care of them, and they produce really well. Blueberries come with early producers, mid-season producers, late-season producers. This is a mix of all kinds of different varieties. I recommend mixing up the varieties, mixing up early season and late season. This way you get blueberries over a longer time span. Having different varieties, you get better cross-pollination, plumper blueberries, at least that's what I'm told. And you know, the evidence from every year of picking blueberries seems to hold true. So mix up the varieties. Spacing, I'm not going to really get into that. I tend to plant things closer. However, the feeding, now my soil is about a 7 pH. It's pretty high in alkalinity. Blueberries like pH that's lower, we're told. However, they grow in a wide range of pH alkalinity. Lower the number, like around 5.5, 5.9, 6, more acidic. Higher the number, 6.87, the more alkaline. So what do? First of all, these have been growing beautifully in soil that's more alkaline. I didn't go through here and try and change the pH with more acidity. I give them a water-soluble fertilizer that's for acid-loving plants. I give it to them in the fall and in the spring. Miracle-Gro has a product, I think it's called Mere Acid, but it's acidic water-soluble fertilizer. If you don't like that company, look for another acidic type fertilizer. I also have lots of mulch in here. That helps regulate pH, maybe brings it down a little bit, maybe raises it a little bit. But most importantly, it breaks down and it's feeding these plants beautifully. You could again put down a couple inches of compost right around the base. Let's just start with the organic granular. Let's just do this little guy. This guy got stepped on, so he's finally coming back. Just around the base, that's a full handful of the organic granular. For the acidic fertilizer, and the thing is that you can't really significantly change pH in the long run. You have to put down lots of products. Like if you can't find the acidic water soluble, just use any water soluble. You can change the pH by putting down elemental sulfur. I think, don't hold me to it, but maybe ammonium sulfate also changes the acidity. So if your blueberry bushes are struggling, which mine aren't, one thing you might want to consider is bringing the pH down. By creating a space that's a little more acidic, the blueberry bushes are able to better pull in nutrients, and that's why you want to do it. So I just water in, each plant actually gets about a gallon. I just water in the base really well, and then just around the plant. And it takes some time, but you're only doing this twice a year, and each plant gets a good gallon of the water soluble for acid-loving plants, and it seems to work. The plants do really well. Again, please subscribe. And if you check out some of my older videos, especially the Garden Ramblings, when I do tours, you're going to see all of these loaded with thousands of blueberries and probably just as many blackberries. Thanks so much for watching. These are the basics for getting your blackberries, your raspberries, and your blueberries up and going for the spring. I wish you luck. Again, please subscribe. Check out my seed shop at therustedgarden.com, and please follow me. I'll teach you how to grow food, plant up this entire garden, teach you how to save some money, and have fun while you're doing it. Thanks for watching.